We're kicking off today with WWE Raw, as this week's show saw a segment between CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, and Seth Rollins, in which all three didn't hold back against one another. The promo ignited an excitement among fans in what fans often dub the feeling, and it turns out that the three men were able to do much more than what had been allowed in the past. In this electrifying exchange, each wrestler fired shots at the others, injecting a sense of spontaneity rarely seen in scripted wrestling segments. Fightful Select reports that this promo was more improvisational than usual, as typically, WWE productions have to adhere to meticulously written out scripts. Even some of the most emotionally charged promos in the past, presumed to be off the cuff, were meticulously scripted, showing how creative some people are behind the scenes. Sources have indicated that this time, there was a general outline as to what should be said, allowing the talent themselves to unleash their creativity on TV. Adam Pearce, credited as the producer, orchestrated this segment, which was initially planned as a structured affair, but Punk's unscripted expletive caught WWE production off guard. Despite this spontaneous moment, backstage reports indicate no fallout or tension among the talent, though it is believed that there was a gentle reminder to wrestlers to refrain from cursing. Relations between CM Punk and WWE continue to appear positive, with no apparent disruptions following the impactful promo, which was a hit with the Chicago crowd. But what did you think of the promo? Did the injection of spontaneity add to the excitement of the segment? Share your thoughts and reactions in the comments below. This week's Raw went off the air with a brutal attack on Cody Rhodes by The Rock, who left the American Nightmare a bloody heap in the pouring rain outside of the arena. Despite having allies in his war with the Bloodline, Rhodes was left to his own devices as The Rock delivered his beatdown, despite at least two allies being able to get involved. In the closing moments of the main event of Raw, Seth Rollins was taken out at ringside by his WrestleMania 40 opponent Drew McIntyre, who built momentum to their clash next month. On Twitter, though, a user showed footage of Rollins and Jey Uso making their way backstage while Rhodes was being assaulted, and neither man made any attempt to help Cody out. Rollins seemed to have made it back to his feet midway as The Rock went all rogue on Cody, and surely had enough time to locate them outside the arena and save his partner. This was an unfortunate WWE mistake caught on camera, and has led to questions as to just how strong Seth and Cody's alliance really is, mere days ahead of headlining Night 1. Cody Rhodes has previously dismissed the idea that Seth will betray him, but this week's Raw raises some questions. And what do you think of this? Let us know in the comments below. Last year, Vince McMahon returned to WWE in a shocking move given the allegations that forced him to retire in 2022, and it's safe to say WWE took notice and made some changes. In the wake of McMahon's return, WWE implemented a policy in response, stating what are the do's and don'ts of a consensual relationship within the company. Post Wrestling and WrestleNomics were able to obtain a 3-page document about the policy, which was created in June 2023, about half a year after McMahon's return to WWE. The policy addresses sexual or romantic relationships in the workplace, a response to reports of alleged sexual misconduct involving McMahon that forced him to retire in July 2022. The policy explicitly prohibits employees from holding any instructional, evaluative, or supervisory role over individuals they have had or currently have a consensual relationship. It also gives specific guidelines regarding relationships with top executives such as WWE board members or members of the executive team like the CEO, president, CFO, or CCO. Now McMahon is gone once again, seemingly for good this time, but this policy remains in place in an effort to ensure the end of controversial relationships. Will these measures be sufficient to reckon with the legacy of Vince McMahon? Only time will tell, but WWE is clearly looking to avoid a repeat of the McMahon scandal. Over to NXT, and the toll of wrestling, especially in the biggest company in the world, can be heavy on one's physical and mental well-being, and this has caught up to Ridge Holland. It was announced before NXT that Holland would address the NXT universe, which came after a period of time when he's been grappling with issues regarding his own place in wrestling. This has been compounded by the return of Shawn Spears, and on NXT, Holland spoke candidly about the challenges he's endured in pursuit of becoming a top-tier WWE superstar. Acknowledging that his performance has fallen short of his usual standard, Holland added that his family is a significant part of his life and alluded to focusing on his mental health. Holland, a father and husband, noticed his focus and passion were wavering and said he's made the difficult decision to step away from in-ring competition indefinitely. Following the segment's broadcast, the WWE roster page promptly reflected this change, relocating Ridge Holland to the alumni section. It should be stressed that this is just a storyline, as Fightful reports. NXT sources have confirmed to Corey Brennan of Fightful Select that this is part of Holland's current storyline and is not an official retirement. The story has been one that Holland has been motivated to do, with the former Brawling Brute being receptive to suggestions. Despite some backlash from fans, there has been no resistance to the storyline from a creative or talent perspective. And what do you make of the angle? Let us know in the comments. In recent days, Ronda Rousey hasn't held back with her views on WWE, going as far as to say that working for Vince McMahon was like performing matches for a sicko. Rousey has also taken aim at Bruce Pritchard and John Laurinaitis, two of McMahon's closest allies for years, while arguing that WWE has often discriminated against women for years. These anti-WWE campaign comments have shocked fans, but they're nothing at all that new to those in WWE, according to a source in creative who spoke to Ringside News. The source said that these comments aren't surprising, as Rousey was pretty angry during her second run with the company, so it isn't a shock she's airing some dirty laundry. It's not entirely been bad comments by Rousey though, as she has spoken positively of Triple H and has said that she loves the women she worked with during her run with WWE. With that said, Rousey's days of competing are over, but with comments like these, fans can expect her to remain in the spotlight for quite some time. WrestleMania 40 is now less than 2 weeks away, and WWE is doing all it can to make this milestone show the biggest it can be. According to PW Insider, WWE is pulling out all the stops by inviting several iconic names to join the celebration, including Alundra Blaze, Jerry Lawler, Cowboy Bob Orton, and Rikishi. They will be joining a star-studded lineup that includes JBL, Michelle McCool, Ron Simmons, Jimmy Hart, and Kane, who will all be appearing at the WWE World in Philadelphia. WrestleMania will feature several big names on the two-night show itself, with rumors that John Cena, Steve Austin, and even The Undertaker potentially getting involved as well. According to reports, there is strong belief that Austin, Undertaker, and Cena will play a role at WrestleMania, although nothing has been officially confirmed yet. On Raw, keen-eyed viewers noticed production shots and equipment adorned with WrestleMania wraps featuring images of Austin, Cena, Charlotte Flair, Jey Uso, Seth Rollins, Logan Paul, and others. WrestleVotes added to the excitement by reporting that the inclusion of these trucks in the broadcast was not a coincidence, hinting at WWE's plans for Cena and Austin at WrestleMania. Do you think the likes of Austin and Cena could appear on WrestleMania? And if so, what will they do? Let us know your thoughts down below. More from Raw, as The Rock held nothing back with his assault on Cody Rhodes, but it wasn't just the Great One's language that WWE felt the need to censor. During the attack on the American Nightmare, The Rock threw trash cans into the head of Cody, which led to WWE freeze-framing the point of impact. This isn't a massive surprise, as WWE banned chair shots to the head years ago, and have since then done all they can to edit footage to keep shots to the head from being shown. Interestingly, WWE did not edit the footage of Cody bleeding, despite in the past going to black and white filter when someone has been busted open. With The Rock back, it seems like WWE's willing to break some of their own rules to intensify their feud heading into WrestleMania, but still felt the need to edit the shots to Cody's head. As a leading man in entertainment, WWE is understandably thrilled to have The Rock back, and unsurprisingly, have given the Brahma Bull a huge spotlight going into WrestleMania 40. It's worth remembering though that The Rock will be on night 1 of the show and won't compete on night 2, as that show will see Cody Rhodes take on Roman Reigns. In a recent appearance on the Busted Open Radio, former WWE superstar Nick Nemeth spoke about The Rock and his belief that the Great One is overshadowing Roman Reigns. He said, "It does make Roman look like a little brother a little bit. We had a year and 9 months before The Rock of this 2-year story, so I get it. We all know The Rock's involved, we all know that the back and forth has only been Rock and Cody. Let's get back to the championship match. I really think I want them to sell me on WrestleMania, not just watching on TV, why I need to be in the building for this moment." While Rock's return has been great for WWE, it has been odd to see the most dominant champion in decades in the background, often doing little other than cheering his cousin on. Reigns and Rhodes did have a face-to-face interaction last Friday, but this was the first and seemingly last interaction of its kind before WrestleMania 40. We could be in the final days of Reigns' title run, but WWE is more focused on The Rock than the Tribal Chief, as even the dominant head of the table has to acknowledge his cousin's star power. In 2022, Cody Rhodes left AEW and would promptly return to the WWE, but he would not be the last All Elite talent to make the move. Jade Cargill, Andrade, and Lexis King have all made the move from AEW to WWE, and now it seems that another jump could be in store if an ex-AEW star is to be believed. Mike Santana wrapped up his time with AEW earlier this year and went on the Insight podcast, said that he saw Rhodes' departure coming back in 2022. Not only that, but Santana said that there are two people that he was sure would go back to WWE, and added that one of them already has. As for the second person, Santana didn't state who he's confident will move from AEW to WWE next, but there's no shortage of ex-superstars on the All Elite roster. With the strong business WWE is doing right now, it's not a surprise that some AEW stars are keeping an eye on their competition. And who do you think is the next person to make the jump to WWE? It was 2 weeks ago that Mercedes Moné made her AEW debut, and since then, there's been plenty of buzz as to what's next for the former WWE superstar. We don't know what the long-term plan for Moné is, but we do know that she'll be on tonight's AEW Dynamite, where she'll provide commentary for a women's four-way. Chris Statlander, Sky Blue, Willow Nightingale, and Anna Jay will compete on the show, with the winner earning a TBS title match with Julia Hart for AEW Dynasty next month. So far, Moné has yet to wrestle for AEW, but one name on the All Elite roster has put herself forward as the first opponent for the CEO. When Moné took to Twitter to ask who she should fight first, Red Velvet threw her hat in the ring, calling herself the Chef and saying, "I love me a good fight." It remains to be seen if Red Velvet will indeed be Moné's first opponent in AEW, but we imagine there will be no shortage of opponents hungry for a shot against the former women's champion. Channing Stacks Lorenzo was given clear instructions to attack the left-hand fingers of Ilja Dragunov in their match, but the Mad Dragon got the win with the Torpedo Moscow. His fingers did look contorted afterward from the focused assault, and this was a short match that was impressively focused on the strong story the two superstars told. The story was further sold by the way Dragunov contorted his fingers throughout after the underboss laid in his stomps, although the result of the match was always inevitable. Nevertheless, the two made a unique impression that has set a clear target for Tony D'Angelo ahead of his NXT title shot with Dragunov at Stand and Deliver. With so many big matches set for Stand and Deliver, this is the least exciting Dragunov match in a while, but the Don and the Mad Dragon will make it well worth watching. This week's NXT also saw the in-ring debut of Jazmyn Nix, who was supported by the conniving JC Jane as she went up against Thea Hale. Jane at ringside was doing all she could to get in the head of Hale, including her tactics to have Chase U ejected from ringside, and this led to a back and forth between Hale and Nix. Ultimately, Hale overcame the obstacles by getting an armbar submission win on Nix, causing a nasty snap to her arm as she released the hold. The end of the segment saw Hale and Jane brawl while their various allies came out to support them, showing that these issues are far from over. Josh Briggs was kept distracted by Dijak on commentary, but that didn't stop Briggs from defeating Duke Hudson in this fun clash of talented big men. At a recent WWE live event, Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax went viral after the mommy of WWE stink-faced her opponent, but recently, Jax had something else in her mouth. During another live event match, Ripley once again defended against Jax and Shayna Baszler, and while Rhea and Baszler were in the ring, Jax was on the outside having fun with the fans. Perched over the barricade, Jax opened her mouth and, rather than Rhea's buttocks, was treated to some popcorn a fan had purchased as a little mid-match snack. Jax has proven to be entertaining in her second run with WWE, and we're sure the fans at this show had a great time keeping the irresistible force fed during her triple threat match. We've got an update on the health of Jim Ross now, as the AEW commentator took to Twitter this week to say he was back at the hospital to have 3 ports in his chest removed. JR has been dealing with health issues for some time, which he has been open about and willing to share, and we're wishing him well amid this recent return to the hospital. Now, AEW isn't just home to former WWE superstars, but many corporate names from WWE now work for Tony Khan, and fans can add Kosha Irby to that list. Earlier this week, it was confirmed that Irby had been hired as AEW's chief operating officer, and Tony Khan was pleased to bring the phenomenal asset to his company. From 2011 to 2018, Irby was WWE's regional director of live events, but he'll now be bringing that expertise and more to All Elite Wrestling. More from NXT as Dijak defeated Shawn Spears in a match that had the crowd hooked, and the Fight Forever chant bodes well for the futures of both men. WWE veteran Natalya was the surprise opponent for Lola Vice, and Vice took over the action early with a series of strikes. Carmen Petrovic arrived to cheer on Natalya, which distracted the breakout superstar long enough for the boat to trap her opponent in a pin. Natalya was a surprise, but she wasn't the most exciting opponent for Vice, though the pair showed something good in the future with some impressive transitions. Vice showed off her technical prowess, but while it would have been good to see the NXT breakout superstar get some momentum, she's not ready to beat a main roster talent. If Natalya is going to stick in NXT though, she would be a valuable rival for the young roster, and she could also team up with Petrovic to finally get her over. In a backstage segment, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson told the Wolf Dogs to get the job done tonight so that it was a traditional tag title match at Stand and Deliver. Alpha Academy took the early advantage after Otis threw Tozawa onto the Wolf Dogs outside, and Otis flipped the champs over his shoulder and hit a worm on Corbin for a near fall. It took a double powerbomb on Otis through the announce table, but the Wolf Dogs managed to isolate Akira Tozawa, and a powerbomb spear combo won it for the NXT Tag Team Champions. Afterward, the LWO, the OC, and Nathan Frazier and Axiom arrived to start a brawl ahead of the #1 contender match next week that'll determine the next challengers. Once again, Corbin and Breakker deliver as a tag team, as this was a phenomenal match where the Wolf Dogs showed out but still made their rivals look good, especially Otis. NXT has 3 interesting teams set up as potential opponents for Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin, though all signs point to the OC winning the #1 contenders triple threat. With that said, the Wolf Dogs will likely make any pairing work as the tag team division feels hot again, and hopefully that plays out in big matches next week. This week, Becky Lynch's new book, The Man, hit shelves, and the Raw superstar kicked off a book signing tour, with the first stop of the tour taking her to New York City. Fans were clearly eager to get a copy of the book and meet Lynch in the process, as on social media, there were photos of long lines to the bookstore at which Lynch would be appearing. While the book has only just come out, Lynch's new memoir has received rave reviews from wrestlers, and many expect it to make the New York Times bestsellers list. At WrestleMania, Lynch hopes to add another chapter to her impressive career by beating Rhea Ripley, and judging by these cues, there's no shortage of support for the Irish superstar. On April 1st, WWE and Peacock will release their new documentary, Bray Wyatt Becoming Immortal, which is sure to be an emotional and gripping watch. On Twitter this week, Big E revealed that he has already had the opportunity to watch the Wyatt documentary and called it deeply touching and beautifully produced. The documentary is set to be narrated by WWE Hall of Famer The Undertaker and will include interviews with Bray's brother Bo Dallas, father Mike Rotunda, and widow JoJo Offerman. Wyatt's life ended tragically young last August, but WWE is doing what it can to celebrate that life, and this documentary will be a must-see when it releases next month. On WWE TV, Rhea Ripley has been part of an on-screen couple with Dominic Mysterio, but in real life, the mommy of the Judgment Day is engaged to Buddy Matthews. During a recent episode of the Impulsive podcast, Ripley discussed her relationship and said that Matthews isn't jealous at all over the massive success she's having in WWE. Ripley added that both of them are aware that the business is a male-dominated industry, so for her to thrive the way she has been great for both of them to experience. Speaking about Matthews and AEW, Ripley said that the House of Black is getting more steam, but that WWE's platform is obviously bigger and she can reach more people. It's great that Matthews is more than ready to support his fiancée despite being in 2 different companies, and what do you make of this story? Let us know down below.